Hi everyone, and you are welcome to class representation special methods lecture. Assume that you have a class for student, as we have seen before, and assume you have an object from this class and you decide to print this object. Do you know what you will get? You will get this ugly string, which is _main, _student object, and this awful number. The question is how I can override this behavior. How I can, when I print an object from my student class, get sort of clean information or representative information, like for example, student ID and student name, let's say. Knowing how to do that and much more will be the topic of this lecture. So let's get started. In this lecture, we will understand what class representation special methods are. After that, we will see some available methods under this category. Then we will learn how we can override these methods. And I'll end this lecture by a quick summary as usual. So let's get started. So what class representation special methods are? Simply, these methods are the methods that are usually used to generate a representative value for your class objects. This representative value could be, for example, a representative string of your object state, and I mean here by state the values of instance attributes. So for example, you want to know some information about the object just by printing that object. Sometimes we need a machine-readable string, and the purpose of this is to regenerate the object itself by using this string. Or sometimes I want to generate a hash value for the object in order to give each object a unique ID. So there are a lot of use cases for this type of methods. Now let's see some available class representation special methods. The first two that I want to talk about is str, which is a shortcut for string, and rapr, which is a shortcut for represent. The first one, which is str, usually define the behavior for when the function str is called with an object of your class. So in other words, when you want to convert your object into string, this special method will be called. And because this method will be called when I want to convert my object into string, so this method should return a value. And usually this method returns a human readable representation of the object. And look here, I say human readable. It's very important. Represent, in the other side actually, it defines the behavior when the function rapr is called with an object of your class. And usually, this method returns a value and it returns a machine-readable representation of your object. What I mean by a machine-readable, we will see this in the code session, but simply it's just a string that if you convert it into a code, you can use it to define an object from your class. And usually, we regenerate the same object. There are other methods, like for example here, we have format, which will define the behavior when the function format is called, and there is hash, which define the behavior when the function hash is called. Usually, the most common two functions are str and represent. So let's move now to Jupyter Notebook in order to see examples about these two common methods. Alright, first of all, let's talk about str function. Assume that you have the following class, which is student class, in which we have multiple instance attributes like ID, first name, last name, etc. And from this class, I just defined one object, which is student. Now, if I print str student, you will see that I'll get this ugly string here, which will tell me the type of this object and in which memory location this object is stored. Usually, we override this method, which is str, in order to show a human-readable string about the object itself. So let's see how we can do that. It's quite easy. I'll open now a new cell and I'll take this code in order to show you the comparison. I'll take this and now I'll override this str method. How to override? It's quite simple. I'll use the function $str, which accepts my object as a first parameter, and I will make it return the following string. I'll say I am, so I'll use formatted string, and my age is, and because it's formatted string, I can say here if, and here I'll say self.firstname, self.lastname, and finally self.age, here dot. So look, so the same code, but just here, I have overridden this method. Let me run now, and before I run, just let me print here one dummy line. So you will see here that I got the following string right now. So here I am John Doe and my age is 25, whereas here I got this ugly string. So this is the behavior of this method. Now let's talk about the second method, which is rapr, the shortcut of represent. So I'll start from the same class, which is my student class, and now I will print rapr student. Run. You will see here again I get the same ugly string that represents my object. Let's see how we can override this method now. So I'll open a new cell, I'll paste this code, and I'll come to here. Then, how to override is quite easy. All what I have to say is diff _rapr self, and then I have to return a string. But this string should be machine readable string. So for this reason, we override this RAPR in order to generate a machine-readable string. What I mean by this, let me show you. I write the name of the class, and I know that my class in the constructor accepts 3 parameters, so I will use this formatted string, and here I'll say self.firstname, self.lastname, and self.age. Now let me print to see what I'll get in the output now of this representation function. You will see I got this string. Now why I call it a machine readable string? It's very simple, because if I copy and paste this string and come to here, let's say student1, you will see that this string will allow me to redefine exactly the same object. But look here, I have a mistake because John and Doe should have code. So I will come to this here, to this point, and I'll replace this by code, like here. Okay, so let me comment this and try again. So you will see here now, it will work without the need for any update like here. So now by just using this string, I'm able to redefine the object itself that for which this string has been printed. And thank you. That's all for this lecture. Now let's summarize what we have learned in this lecture. Actually, mainly we have talked about class representation special methods, and as we have seen, they are just the methods that are used to generate a representative value for your class objects. That's all. Now please, I want you to refer to the lecture resources in order to find some challenges to practice what you have learned in this lecture. Thank you very much for your time, and if you are available, join me in the next lecture.